Hey everyone, welcome to the Prepared Mind Hour. That's right, every day, Monday through Friday on Patreon only, you can be live with me for the monologue and the live Q&A every day. All you got to do is come to Patreon. Doesn't seem too hard now, does it? But it's Monday, folks. Yesterday we did the zoo, and that's Patreon and YouTube together, but now we just drop back and go through the week and document all of the shit that's going on. I tell you what, folks, it is off to the rodeo. There is some wild shit going on. Some stuff I just can't talk about at all. Other stuff I can't talk about at all. The Aussies, they had a berserker loose in the crowd. They're having trouble over there, folks. They're having trouble. They're having trouble here in the United States. And we're going to cover a lot of it. There's a lot of rejection. Now, remember, we talked about how does this play out? There's a lot of different ways to discuss what is happening, but how does this play out? Well, typically, tyranny comes aboard and says, hey, we're here to screw up your party. And so people, first they protest. And then they just try and ignore the rules and live the way they know they should as free people. And ultimately, violence breaks out. We got craziness, folks, but if you want to be part of Patreon, this might help you understand why. All right, and for you guys, you are already here on Patreon live right now this minute. Let's get into it. You know, what am I talking about, the rodeo? Folks, well, we heard how left-wing dingbat Nicki Minaj last week decided to buck the system. But we've had other artists out there, musical artists, bucking the system. We've had Eric Clapton, who got the Jim Jones juice and lost control, motor control of his hands. Those extensions of his musical genius, playing the electric guitar, which have been around and working since the 1960s. He came out and said, hey, that's enough of that shit. Now Dave Mustaine of Megadeth was at a concert in New Jersey and just went off on tyranny, folks, on tyranny. And then he broke into one of their Megadeth jams. I've never been a huge Megadeth fan or much of a fan at all, but that's all right. I know who Dave Mustaine is, and I'm glad to see that these artists are speaking up. That's good, because folks, Hollywood, television, they have sold out to the agenda. It's interesting to me how once they get fuck you money and they have that attitude, and I think musicians have that attitude a lot more than actors and television personalities. They're like, you know what? I've got enough money. Why should I give a fuck? Clapton has it. Nicki Minaj has it. And I'm sure Dave Mustaine has it. And he doesn't have to make new records. He's got decades of his own music to play. Folks, why don't we take a cue from these guys? I've got decades of real life inexperience in my world. And I know most of the demographics here is above age 40. We know what it's like, folks, right? I've got fuck you experience. I know what's going to happen. I know what's coming down, folks. And it's interesting, in Australia, folks, they're starting to get it. Well, we've learned now that the Australian government is out of control. They are like the vanguard of cerveza bug lockdown madness to see how it plays out. to see what the people and their response and their reaction is. And I think once they figure out how to control the people in Australia, it will spread to the rest of the world very quickly. But the government's out of control. And in Australia, the police like their paychecks a little too much. You know, this weekend, one cop in Australia knocked down an elderly woman, pepper sprayed her directly in the face. Oh, by the way, she was elderly. She broke her hip from the fall caused by the policeman. And, you know, honestly, folks, little old lady, they pose no threat. Literally no threat. Come on. They don't have guns in Australia, so it's not like she was going to pull out a big-ass fucking Deagle 50 and cause trouble. And look out, folks. They're kicking and beating protesters. One got kicked in the face on film. It's getting bad in Australia, folks. And I'm expecting there to be an even bigger violent response. I'm not glamorizing it or glorifying it. I'm not calling for it. I'm saying it's going to happen. And once they get it figured out over there, folks, they're going to bring it here to America, because we're having this discussion, if you will, not on a peaceful level, but in a wider, more dramatic level and in a way, right? We have Megadeth speaking up. We have Nicki Minaj speaking up. We have people holding rallies and protests in New York City saying no more of this, no mandates. We have restaurants saying, fuck you, we're not going to follow the rules. We have people getting in a fight. There was another story that I saw, and the mainstream media is trying to push this. Oh my God, a family got kicked out of a restaurant because they wanted to wear masks and they had a no mask rule. But one of the son of the people, he had a immunocompromised system. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I feel bad this kid has an immunocompromised system. But if that's the case, why the fuck are you bringing him out in public? This kid is a candidate for a boy in the plastic bubble type life. Sad, but true. But they want the whole world, folks, to come to a screeching fucking halt for the myth that a little piece of woven plastic is going to stop cerveza bug. You see what they're doing? We can't kill grandma, so everyone else has to go away. But in Australia, they can just do everything except kill grandma. Knock her the fuck down, break her hip, spray her in the face, laugh at her, probably arrested her or manhandled her some more. You know, it's incredible, folks. And speaking of Australia, Sky News is about to release a bombshell on Dr. Fauci. There's a lot of information out, folks. I can't say it. I can't say the words, but there's a lot coming out, and it should get some traction. There's a lot of stuff I cannot fucking talk, and it pisses me off. "15 top scientists have destroyed the narrative." That's all I can say. 15 real scientists have dismantled, taken to pieces, taken to task, kicked the stuffing out of the narrative of Dr. Doom. It's looking like this week we're going to see it. And I got to tell you, I don't think they're going to go away. They're not going to give up on this. It is going to get ugly and stupid, folks. And it's off to the rodeo. Good God. And speaking of that, I want to take you back down under some more, folks. Now, Australia is different than the United States, but we're kissing cousins, folks. We're that close. We speak English. We have a common law, constitutional background, both countries, the United States and Australia. They are a political ally. They're a military ally. And every Aussie I've ever met has been just fucking dynamite, right? But this is incredible. In Melbourne, Australia, union leadership came out and ordered their members to take the Jim Jones juice or lose their jobs. Unbelievable what is going on. So the union is the CFMEU, and their headquarters are in Melbourne. And the crowd basically told them to fuck off, right? Take your vaccine and shove it. And this guy's out there talking shit like he's a great guy, and the crowd is fucking pissed at them, folks. I got a ton of videos here. If you're on Patreon, we can list the links, and Jolene does that every day. Thank you again, Jolene, for all the hard work you do and put in behind the scenes making this happen. You deserve to have another day like you did last week with your friend, but just be careful. Anyways, I had to pull your chain a little bit there. But this union, it's construction workers, foresters, miners, and energy workers. It's kind of a strange union, you think, but they really put them all together. And this union thinks they can tell everyone what to do. I thought the union leadership was elected. I thought union leadership was supposed to represent the union workers. Instead, we have it come in the other way. We have the government telling the union leaders what the fuck to do. Folks, water doesn't run uphill without making a big fucking mess of Newtonian physics. I don't know. It's going to get worse, folks. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. Now, I was really pleased to see the union workers basically go, wait a moment, time out. Nope, too late. Now, I can say this. The New England Journal of Medicine has reversed its cerveza hokey pokey for pregos. That's all I can say. Check out the article, folks. You're already here on Patreon. Check it out. Incredible, folks. This turnaround, this narrative is taking it in the shorts. Now, a lot of people, you know, they're like, okay, musicians are rebels. It's always been rebels in music, you know, and actors have always been suck ass and suck whatever else it takes to get the job, I guess. But what about models? I mean, we know that men sell out. Look at the NBA, look at the NFL, baseball, hockey. These fuckers sell out, right? They'll suck up to China or whoever they have to get a bigger paycheck. And I can't see doing that. How much fucking money do you need? How many millions of dollars before you go, you know what? I don't need your shit. I got fuck you money. Well, apparently supermodels. That's right. We normally think of supermodels as bimbos and dumbasses. Well, Giselle Bündchen has backed fellow supermodel Dutzen Kroos after she sparked controversy with a social media post saying she's not just denying it. She's not Nicki Minajing it. She's saying she will not be forced to get the Jim Jones juice, to prove my health, to participate in society. In other words, she's making a political stand, not a medical stand, not a religious objection. She's making a political stand. Well, God bless Dutzen Kroos, right? She said in a long Instagram on Friday, I will not accept exclusion of people based on their medical status. Freedom of speech is a right worth fighting for, but we can only solve this united in peace and love. Now, up to and until that last little bit, she did really good. Unless someone mistranslated the German over to English, where she said peace and love, because maybe it would have made more sense if she understood that love is useless when working and dealing with tyrants who have no love in their hearts, who have only a cold, hate-filled stone. They do understand violence, though, and that is why it is their weapon of choice. They like to pretend like, well, we don't want to kill grandma. Hey, would you stop killing grandma? We're trying to, pretend like we're not killing grandma around here. Australia, right? Don't send them the Christmas card invite to the family reunion. They keep fucking things up in Australia, right? They don't have love. They can't even pretend to love. They have violence, and that's their weapon of choice. Even the mainstream media is threatening violence against Nicki Minaj's family. That's all they got, folks. So maybe I want to help out. I want to help out Dutzen and say that I'll help you on the end of your tweet here. Freedom of speech is a right worth fighting for. There's that key word, the F word. But we can only solve this united in equal and greater violence to that which tries to steal our rights and liberties. That makes sense. That will win. They put out this much force, you got to put out that much force. And Australia is just getting warmed up. I'm not glamorizing it. I'm not promoting it, but you can bet your ass I'll be watching it. I tell you, we the R Syndicate had quite a bit of behind the scenes snickering going on, and look out. Now, there was a school shooting today. Thankfully, it looks like 2 people were injured. No one was killed. But the FBI is involved now. Anyone surprised? Anyone? Now, I want to look at the process here. Let's look at the process, right? We're on step 3 in the world, how things work. But let's go through the first 2 steps. Step 1, the elites warn us about rising sea levels. Then they buy beachfront property for Obama and their other pals. Step 2, and how the world really works is the elites warn us about cerveza bug. Then they throw parties and take vacations with no masks while we get locked up and punished. Step 3, the elites tell us that giving up our guns will make us safe. Then the elites hire private security to protect themselves. Got it. In other words, anything coming out of elites, politicians, mainstream media, government bureaucracy, it's all a fucking lie. Folks, shit has hit the fan. I have no doubt I would not take back that Byron cigar that I smoked way back in 2020. It was smoked with cause, which is a nice legal term. But yeah, shit has hit the fan. Are you prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Food, folks. I want you to have at least 3 months of food. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Enough calories for you, your family members, and anyone else you think you could be responsible for. 3 months, not because we're going to have 3 months in a row necessarily of no food availability, but there could be times, intermittent times, where the food supply is interrupted. Once again, let's go down under to Australia. What do they have down there? They had a truckers' strike over cerveza bug mandates, lockdowns, jibbity jab, wellness camps, and everything else. They're turning quite into a little thing. In fact, I think they have mandatory shoelace systems. They're mandating that everyone tie their shoes in little Nazis. Rim shot. All right, folks, let's move on. Let's keep this going. This was interesting, came out. It's kind of unnerving to me. It looks like in the state of Washington, they have quarantine facilities, and looks like they're trying to hire strike teams, right? Left-wing lunatic governor Jay Inslee has established an isolation and quarantine facility in Centralia, is now seeking to hire a team to provide services, security, and management to the facility. This is America. And if they are going to do this sort of thing, at what point? This is a rhetorical question. This is not a command. This is not a secret squirrel code. Nothing else. I just want to ask a plain old fucking question. We already have seen the Gestapo, Stasi, GRU action in Washington, D.C., where they went out of their own jurisdiction into these 50 United States and arrested people and took them back to their Bastille and are holding them as political prisoners for having done nothing more, folks, than walk around. Those who committed the acts of violence were allowed to get away. Those who just, hey, the cop says come on into the building and it's a public building, here I come. They're being charged with misdemeanor trespassing. Unfucking believable. Now, if they're going to start opening up, what is this called again? Oh, there's such a beautiful little name for it. Isolation and quarantine facilities. If the governors of these states, whether federal or state government, doesn't matter which, want to start opening up quarantine facilities, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to wait till they're all the way open and they start busing people in? Are you going to wait till they start busing people out of your town and over there? Are you going to wait till the people that are disappearing into these quarantine facilities are someone you know? Or are you going to wait till they knock on your door because you're the one they want next? Just a question. America. It's a general question, just painting it out here. How long until America says, no fucking way? We've seen what they're doing in Australia. And if they're going to use a medical emergency as the excuse for wiping away the Constitution, then we have no Constitution because we're excusing tyrannical behavior. It's not circular thinking. It is circular thinking on their part and a couple other logical fallacies to boot. But this idea that, well, you know, it's an emergency, so we have the power to do whatever we want and everyone's just going to behave. Or do we, the people, not me and you, and I'm not encouraging violence, I'm asking a question in a rather academic way. Do we, the people, say, you know what, this is just not right. We don't buy this shit. The narrative, the agenda has been exposed. It's all fraud. It's all fraud. Yes, people get sick. Yes, we know who's responsible. He's a short little bastard. Yes, there are treatments that work. And here on Patreon, we had a great video come out, and I want to thank Crispy Bacon for sending it to me. It's been out for 6 months on YouTube, using all the dirty words that I can't say about the different treatments that are effective, how efficacious they are, and how many lives they would have saved if they were used rather than the other bullshit that's going on and that's still going on, and that there aren't treatment protocols in place. There aren't. It's, oh, you got it, you're fucked. Go home until you're so bad you have to come back, and then you can become a statistic and a paycheck for us, the hospital. Unfucking believable, folks. If we are off to the rodeo, you bet. Look at Australia. Camps, violence, lockdowns, mandates, demands by the government, unions, people fighting back and forth. Store shelves are getting empty in Australia. There are strikes going on. You think Australia's in good shape? All they would have to fucking do, folks, is for the tyrants, the governmental terrorists in Australia, to say, you know what? We're now done with this. We just realized we have herd immunity in Australia. We're now done with this. Everyone, go about your business. Live freely. Pay your taxes. Go to work. Get a job. Sorry about all the problems with businesses being crushed and destroyed. Sorry about all of the people who had your savings wiped away. Sorry about everyone who has lost their homes and their property due to foreclosures and repossessions and everything else. Sorry about that. Sorry. You know, give them the old polite sorry routine and just get the fuck away from the people. I don't think they're going to do that. And they're going to want to start it here. They're going to need to hide the fact that Sky News and other major news networks like Newsmax, people like, well, even that crazy guy, Alex Jones, who's been saying for years, look out, New World, look out, Prison Planet. What the fuck do you think we have today, folks? You bet, Prison Planet. Here we are. Do you think our government's going to back up? We got local governments, county governments, state governments, federal government. We have the fucking United Nations that thinks that they have something to say here in America. We got layer after layer of shit sandwich just piled up, and they're going to shove it right down your fucking throat if they can. So, at what point in this game do we step up as the people, capital P, the people, capital P, of these United States? The sooner it starts, folks, the sooner it starts. The sooner it starts, the quicker we're going to find out who's on whose side and what team is playing with what players. And I, for one, am going to be very excited, and not in a positive way, as this rolls out. There's a lot of people, folks, who are, by excited, I mean higher heart rate, concerned, and ready to engage their SHTF plan, because that's what you need: food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, a plan, etc. Now, this weekend, there was so much stuff going on, folks, I can't keep up with it. I really can't. Really can't. in Germany, folks. 3,000 to 5,000 Antifa violent scumbag hoodlum terrorists rampaged in Leipzig, Germany. They threatened to assassinate the chief of police there. Germany and other European nations have their hands full. They're allowing Antifa to run around. So I guess the police say, what is it? What's the European FBI that's for the whole country? Whatever the fuck it is. Their international police force. Interpol. Thank you, John McFly. Anyone home? Yeah, Interpol, German police, French police, Italian police, all their police forces. They know who the bad guys are. Social media is not hard to figure out. Antifa's the problem. They're violent. Hey, same with these migrants from the Middle East and Africa and other places that won't assimilate into the culture, won't learn the language, refuse to obey the rule, think that Sharia law is real. They're a problem too. Europe is a fucking mess. I have no desire to go there. No desire to go there. Because it's even worse there than here in that regard. Bring it on, Antifa. America is waiting for you. Bring it on, BLM. America is waiting for you. Bring it on, medical Karens. America is waiting for you. That's right. You want to ask for someone's passport? You might get one in the chops. It's not a threat. I'm not glamorizing or promoting it. I'm saying this is what's coming. We're documenting it. We're watching it. It is a landslide into stupidity. Folks, in Orlando, hundreds of people today are marching against the mandates that Orlando, Florida is trying to pass. I think that this order might be in violation of state law, right? The far left mayor of Orange County, right, has demanded that first responders, I guess, have to do as they say, have to get vaxxed or else. Look out, folks. It's coming. Florida was a place where, let's see, parents showed up at a school board. The school board tried kicking them out and having the police arrest them. And the people said, nah, that's not going to happen. We have a right. It's called the First Amendment. It's a public meeting. They can't kick out people and demand that they be arrested because they're an elected school board. Are you fucking kidding? Here we are, folks. Here we are in America. They're pushing it. They're pushing it. They are the ones pushing it, folks. And this is a worldtribune.com article. And it is Monday, folks. And I could go on for a couple of hours with news stories and things to talk about. But we're going to get to your questions. So get ready. Jolene's going to jump on it. Get your questions in there. But an ABC News affiliate, they did a thing on Facebook because a reporter there asked readers to share their stories of loved ones who were affected, who died after refusing or delaying to get the Jim Jones juice. In other words, ABC was looking for people to say, oh, my uncle, my cousin, my husband, my wife didn't get the Jim Jones juice and they died because of it. Instead of getting those stories, folks, thousands of readers reported that their loved ones who got Jim Jones juice had horrifying reactions and even died as a consequence of taking it, not of not taking it. Huge backfire. And it is both unexpected and horrifying to see this. That was a big whoops by WXYZ TV. Unbelievable, folks. Heartbreaking how much is out there and is not being reported. They'll report every single time someone didn't get it and got sick or got hospitalized or passed away. They jump all over that shit because it plays into their narrative. The same narrative that is breaking down right now. Doctors groups are still fighting, folks. People are refusing to obey. Dave Musgrave with Megadeth is out there even calling them tyrants and calling out Dr. Doom himself. Oh, we've got our fucking hands full. We have our hands full here, folks. And we're off to the fucking rodeo. I'm just scrolling down and just seeing tons of these stories. I can't read them anymore. I knew they were there. We all knew they were there, folks. I did a bunch of YouTube shorts and TikToks with Jolene this morning to cover a lot of the stories that I wasn't able to get to over the weekend and that I knew I just wouldn't have time to get to here because because it is now time for the Q&A with you guys. Here we go.
Are you ready?
All right, here we are. A little heavy metal transition for you. Thank you again, Mr. T, for that. And thank you, Ooman, for all you do. Thank you, Cass. Thank you, Vaughn, the Art Syndicate, the entire Prepared Mind network, folks. We're all over the place. We got 4 YouTube channels. We have Patreon with it, preparedmind.club, your store. Oh, yeah, we got TikTok. We got Instagram. We got Facebook. We've got it all, folks, because we need to spread the information. And the most fundamental information we have is that you need to be prepared. You need to have a plan. Prep to action. The action part is coming. Get prepared and take action. Protest, rally, speak your mind. But there's another type of action that's coming, and you need to be prepared and trained. So make sure you're in good physical shape. You've got a plan, and you've practiced it. All right, we got Eli in the Wolverine state. He says, when does a person of interest become a suspect? Like in the Gabby Petito case, is this another FBI fail? You know, that's a matter of opinion, whether or not the government has failed, because they have persons of interest, and the FBI with many of these criminals out here goes, we contacted them and they seem like a problem, and well, we didn't think much of it until they committed the murders, right? We had people complaining about the bad guy in the situation, and the FBI didn't do much. But the FBI, don't you worry, they're on the case. They're on the case. I don't know whether or not they're all over, Gabby Petito, but if you, a patriotic American, a veteran of the armed services, and you have a political persuasion that says, I don't like communism, I think socialism is a bad idea. I think history is replete with examples of murderous socialist regimes, like the murderous Nazi socialists and the murderous Russian communist socialists and the Chinese murderous communist socialists. Yeah, I think I don't like that system. Oh, but I did see a West Point, that's Army, folks, a West Point cadet hold his cover upside down, and it said communism will win inside, and he held his little fist up with that little maggot communist solidarity pose. This is an officer in the Army who is a fucking communist. Understand where we're at, folks. And the FBI, oh, they're the good guys, right? They're watching veterans who are not communists. They're watching us, folks. They've got an eye on us. If you even come close to doing anything wrong, not only will there be a knock on your door, but I bet you'll get to go to one of their own styles of wellness clinics where you can get your head fucking straight. Those days are coming. Once again, chance favors the prepared mind. Be ready for this, folks. It's nut crunching time. All right, we've got 2 owls checking in, and thank you again for all your support on the zoo, 2 owls. Thank you again. Has a question, says, if people started sectioning up into small regions of resistance, what would be some of the external challenges? Well, what you're describing here to me, or at least the way I'm going to interpret your question, is that shit has hit the fan. We've got a lot of problems out there, a lot of uncertainty. Maybe supply lines are really knocked down for a couple of days or a week or an indeterminate amount of time. What would be some of the external challenges? Well, some of the external challenges that I can think of would be transportation. People are going to want to get from point A to point B, whether they're going from where they're at to get home, or whether they're going from where their home is to their bunker, bug out location. And a lot of people don't realize that they're going to have neighbors that they didn't suspect were going to be their neighbors. They're going to find out that maybe their cabin is being occupied by others who think it's theirs. So you're going to have a lot of people who have a lot in common, but are going to have some conflict wanting to share the same space. Additionally, some of the other external challenges will be those who are not preppers. Literally, people who don't even have a week's worth of food stored, and they're going to expect others to help them. Well, the store is empty. The government has proven itself for years now to be the source of the problem, but it's not like you can go up to an empty building, knock on the door, and expect someone to answer it, listen to what you have to say, and then fix the problem because they didn't realize until you spoke to them that something needed to be done. Right? Like, where's our food, government? Why did you shut down the fuel? Why is this happening? Why is society, creaking and cracking like a brittle tree that's going to snap and explode into a million splinters and toothpicks? Right? They don't care. Government doesn't give a fuck. So yes, those are going to be some external threats. The biggest one, external, coming from outside, are going to be other people looking for food, looking for resources, looking for help. Food is going to be the most common one. They'll find areas to get water. I'm sure of that. They'll find areas and go, here's the water. But they won't fight over the water if it's just if it's a river or a lake or something like that. But they're going to fight over other resources. External challenge is getting what people need. They can't, so they're going to go out. They're going to move away and look for it. It's going to be a mess. Okay. Anyways, we got Francesca Axe. Apparently had a 556 donation last night, and we didn't get to it. Holy cow! Sorry about that, Francesca Axe. Said, following you since you were on Prepping 2.0. Question is, do you think the one-man militia will be standing soon? I'm going to answer this in general sense. Yes. Yes, I do. One-man militia, the lone wolf, I'm going to get some stuff done. I'm going to fix things. I think if that's what you're describing, and if that's what you're anticipating, is that we're going to have some people, either lone wolves or small groups, are going to say, look, time to take action. Right? Why do we need to wait for Lexington conquered? Why do we need to wait for the redcoats to come to us and shit all over us and kill us? We know where the problem is. We know who the problem is. We know what the problem is, and we know why it's a problem. Right? Answer those questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Oh yeah, you know what the solution is. Their solution for fixing us, folks, is to put a gun in our face and say, obey. So the correct response when dealing with tyranny is to respond in kind, because tyrants only understand violence. It's a well understood fact of history. So there are going to be some one-man militia types, or maybe some small groups, that are going to pull some violence. I'm not glamorizing it again. I'm not recommending it again. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We got Lynn, who says, for those of us who will not comply, we are being pushed to the fringes of society. What is your take on the alternative economy, black market for medical needs, common needs, food, etc.? Nobody in any area is going to create these things until the need arises. There's an old axiom, or maybe it's axiomatic. Necessity is the mother of invention. Took me a while. It's in there, folks. Necessity is the mother of invention. So when the need arises, the invention, the system will come into being. If food is a shortage, people will figure out how to move food around. Fuel, same story. If certain people are allowed to have and certain other people are not, through necessity, people will figure out a black market system. What is barter? How do you barter? What is money? What are we going to use for money? What is useful? What is not? To determine values of things. In one town, one resource may be more valuable than it would be in another town. And so if this town has a surplus, that surplus will come to an area where there is a deficit or a supply issue. That will be the black market. There will be people who gives a shit about each other. See, this doesn't have to be, this isn't criminal, even though the government would think of it as criminal. How dare you people try and get food? All you have to do is exactly as we say, get the Jim Jones juice, and we'll let you have food again if you can stomach it. Because of course the government wants to take away your beef. Beef bad, and they want to give you soy and bugs. I'm not eating soy, and I'm definitely not eating bugs. I'm not eating their chemicals. I don't want chemical food. I want real food. So I will go to where real food is, or I will find a way to get real food to come to me through alternative means. If you want to call it a black market, okay. But that has an element of criminality to it. Right now, there are operating and functioning black markets in your neighborhood, folks, in your town, you bet. The drug trade, prostitution, whether the drugs are cocaine or whether the drugs are prescription drugs or Chinese fentanyl. It doesn't matter what it is, but it moves around. There's a currency. There's something that's traded for it. It's not a pretty sight, folks, not a pretty world, but when us normies are forced into it because we refuse their Jim Jones juice, look out. All right, we got David, and he says this: more people and organizations are standing up. How long until we see mass casualties and or other complications from the Jim Jones juice and they start to lose their grip on the narrative? It's a great question. It's happening right now. So when you say how much longer, it's already happening. Once again, all of this for decades has been little events that add up year after year, month after month, here and there. We get these events. Shit hitting the fan. Well, one day I just said, I'll light that fucking stogie up. It's here. But it didn't all happen at once. It just got to a point where I said, that's it. We are now officially here. Things are happening right now. So when you say how long until people and organizations stand up, they're standing up now. Right? Supermodels are standing up. Labor unions are standing up. Citizens in big cities are standing up, like New York, Los Angeles. Right? We're fighting against critical race theory. We're fighting against the horrific sex crap that's being pushed on kids in schools. We're standing up to it. Mass casualties because people get ill because they have damaged their immune systems, that's coming. Right now, Dr. Doom is in big trouble. Apparently, there is a group of scientists that have totally shit on his work. Apparently, in Australia, they have a bunch of information about connections between the little master and his Chinese cohorts who released this on the world. You bet, folks. And it was, I believe, Bill Gates, and it was Dr. Fauci who said that this was coming, that it was going to happen, that it was inevitable. And it's just fascinating to me how it popped up at just the most opportune time in order to both hide the absolute fuckery that was occurring in America because of the banking system and concurrently help make President Trump look like shit so they could use that as a weapon against him, along with all of their BLM and Antifa violence that leftist judges, prosecutors, mayors, police departments, governors, all let that shit happen. Billions of dollars in damage, lives lost, people injured and killed for their narrative and their agenda, folks, the Great Reset. Look out. We got Sally Sue checks in and says, the juice and the mandates have been the perfect distraction from our national, global, systematic collapse. What is your timeline of how much longer it's going to take? Sally Sue, I wish I knew. They can stall this. I have watched for nigh a decade saying the economy is really crippled. But what do they have? You know, I thought government would fix the problems, right? They would say, okay, here's our problem, here's the solution. Nope, they say, here's our problem, let's throw a bunch of money at it. Government will buy the debt, government will take over, we'll forgive those corporations, we'll pump a bunch of money into the system. They've been stalling, kicking the can down the road on the economy. You ask about the national or internet. It is actually, you're right, it's national, it's American, but Europeans have the same problems, individual countries as well as the European Union. China's got all kinds of trouble. Australia's in big fucking trouble. Japan's in trouble. Folks, there's no safe place. There's no safe place to go to get away from this trouble. It is international in scope. So what's the timeline? It's collapsing right now. Slow motion. Slow motion. Slow motion. It is happening and collapsing. Look at Australia. What have we covered in just this show alone? Look what's happening in Germany with the violence coming out. Again, with Antifa. Oh, by the way, they have an election coming up. It's funny how they use that to scare people. It's funny how we have all of these problems with elections. Elections is supposed to be the a little bit of democracy in action, right? The process of the people controlling who goes in and fixes our problems. Instead, we have people who go in, line their pockets, make allies with big corporations. That's called fascism, folks. Make sure that they get greased for making those companies rich while they fuck everyone else over. Look out. It's happening right now. It's just how long until we have, you know, you look outside and you're like, well, okay then, right? I see people in the street getting shot. I don't know how long that takes. Australia, they don't have as many guns, but they have violence. In America, we have lots of guns. And I think a lot of people are like, you know what? There's a lot of guns out there, and I'm not going to be an asshole. Just wait until they're hungry, scared, thirsty, confused, injured, irate. Hunger is the biggest one, though, folks. Believe it or not. Hunger is the biggest contributor to violence in world history. Well, let me take that back. Violence between people. Now, violence between governments or a government and its people, that's called greed and tyranny. But when it comes to just people fighting with each other, it's food, hunger. When you start hearing about food shortages, it's imminent with food shortages. All right, we got Blue Cord Devil says this. Along with the quarantine hotel, I also heard carpenters are striking on Thursday in Seattle. These are all indicative signs. Thank you very much, Blue Cord Devil, for letting us know. Again, I was talking about the quarantine estates that the Washington state government wants to open up, and they want to put in their action teams to go in there and make sure people, I guess, make their bed and have that 45-degree tuck on their sheet. That they got, you know, the fold on the crease where the sheet goes over the blanket is as wide as the palm of your hand. They want to make sure that. So they're going to get some real tough guys in there to beat up on people. Well, on top of that, yeah, it looks like we're going to have carpenters go on strike. Truckers are going on strike. I talked with somebody, a friend in New Mexico. I talked with a friend in Idaho. And there are other friends I've talked to in Missouri, Illinois. Was it Tennessee? Anyways, several states where in rural areas, there's now becoming empty spots on the shelves in stores. They're trying to make it look good, folks. Well, we got an empty spot. Let's put some more of those other products out here that people aren't buying so much of. Look out. When the shelves start looking empty, people will actually start buying more because they recognize, I can't get any more Del Monte sliced peaches. Can't get any more Del Monte sliced peaches. I better buy something else. So I'm going to go after the Chef Boyardee SpaghettiOs. And so then they clear out the SpaghettiOs. And then people come in and go, where the fuck are the SpaghettiOs? That's it. I'm clearing out the mac and cheese. Pretty soon, the whole store is basically cleared out. When that happens, stand fast. All right, we got 2 Owls back. Says, so if they section off my town, we just need to watch for hungry people. The government will leave us alone. I don't know your town, 2 Owls, and you don't have to tell me. Smaller towns, government is more responsive because 1, you know who's in charge. 2, you know where those fuckers live. And 3, someone will go knock on their door and say hello if there's a problem. Whether we're talking about the government, elected officials, or the bureaucratic butt wipes, or the law enforcement. But if they were to section off your town and say, this is a quarantine zone, we got all these quarantine zones, we're going to stop people from traveling. That's this idea of closing off a town or an area or a county, shutting down a highway at a bridge, a choke point. Bridges are choke points. There's not many ways to get across a river or a canyon, so there's they can control travel. If they need to start controlling travel, that means we are in big, big, big trouble. If they're quarantining people and choking travel, because now you will have people trying to get from one zone to another, and they're going to get serious about it. Find the fastest route where you're going if you have a plan to go somewhere. Find an alternative route that is less traveled, less well known, that will likely be less well guarded. Also understand that many people will not want people coming near them, and they may take down small bridges or use a tractor to cut away parts of highways where it's really inconvenient and people can't go around. Expect it, folks. Where I was at in California, there were people who talked about, well, I'm just going to dig up the fucking highway and stop people. Or I'm going to drop a bunch of fucking trees across the highway. I'm going to land them on a bridge, and people won't be able to get across that bridge and get into our area, they would say. People will become very defensive, which is what I think you're kind of speaking about. Is, yeah, if you get locked into a zone, you guys will become very defensive, because anyone coming into there, you're going to be like, 1, how did you get here? 2, what the fuck do you want? And 3, why do you think we're going to give it to you? All right, we got, oh shit, Robert Wilson. How you doing there, brother? He has this. He says, civil disobedience and non-compliance in large numbers organized now. Yes, sir. This has been the plan all along. We're getting, as Robert likes to say, we're getting to the point where we're going to start seeing kinetic interactions, high velocity, high volume arguments being had. Again, I will not promote it because it's not a good thing for me to do as the prepared mind guy. But I will tell you, it is coming. We're starting to see the legs on the table really get loose and wobble. And there are going to be areas, right, where that table crashes and all the chips and all the money go to the floor. And I don't know if you guys know about the rules of poker, but any money that hits the floor is fair game. I don't say it's a fun thing to see, but when the money hits the floor, the chips hit the floor, it's a fucking free-for-all. All right. Thank you, Robert. I hope everything's good. We got Doc Holliday Guns in the Second Amendment says, whatever the media says, do the opposite. You'll probably get it right. Well, I tell you what, man. I mean, it's just, it's such a great statement to make. Whatever the media says, well, you can bet your ass they're lying. But they might get it right. They might be reporting and then have a reporter out there. Here I am at the I-5 bridge just north of Sacramento, California. And it appears that the militia from the other side has set up roadblocks and IEDs, and it's looking pretty dangerous. That might be the truth, because they need to make patriots or wacko lunatic rednecks or whoever they don't like look bad. So you better stay here in Sacramento and hunker down because our government and our governor, Gavin Newsom, they have your best interest at heart, right? There's the lie. Remember, the best liars out there, folks, they put a lot of truth in their stuff. You never know, folks. But what I'll say is if you are well prepared, not only with all the appropriate items, but if you've got a plan and you understand, you'll be able to interpret as we go, improvise, adapt, overcome. You'll be able to interpret what is being done, what is being said, so that you can put yourself in the best situation. And that I'm not saying that, folks, when it goes cattywampus, that the whole country will go cattywampus all at once. There's going to be areas that are Mad Max hotspots. Pow, pow, pow. Odds are, in my opinion, it'll be the big cities that have large demographics and idiots. And these suburbs, folks, will be some of the hardest hit areas as they try and escape their fucking lunatic asylums on the inside. Rural areas, not so much. And they may, as has been suggested, they may close everything off, close their bridges, close off their area to keep outsiders out. It's going to be messy when it happens. And I'm not doing fear porn here. This is letting you know we're going through all the steps very slowly, incrementally getting there, because the government, DC, state governments are continuing to be assholes and tell you that, as Jericho likes to say, the sweet and sour sniffles are going to kill everybody. And so you better do as they say or they're going to punish you some more. I read a story today about all of the container ships. There's like 60 fucking container ships parked off of the United States' largest port. That would be LA, the San Pedro down there. They're just parked offshore. I mean, not only do they have the docks full, I guess, not only do they have all of the other parking spots, but they're literally out there just fucking floating in the ocean. Now, how the current isn't carrying them south to Mexico, I don't know. I don't know if they drop an anchor. It's pretty, I mean, once you go offshore, folks, it's steep continental shelf right there. It drops right down to, where all those underwater UFO bases are. I just had to pull your chain on that one. Oh, by the way, the volcano in the Canary Islands is oozing lava all over the place. Oozing lava all over the place. So like Hawaii did a couple of years ago, they're now oozing lava over there. Hundreds of homes are being destroyed. Let's hope that there is not a landslide. Let's hope that it's not a big landslide if we get one. And let's hope that there's not a tsunami and additional destruction. Whew. All right, folks, we're at the 1 hour mark. The people in charge, the elected politicians, we're now seeing how partisanship is coming to play. We're seeing how one's corruptibility, we're seeing how one's moral compass affects their decision. We're seeing how one's business affiliations and associates come into play. We're seeing how the greed and the unethical behavior and decisions are made. We're seeing the difference, folks, between people who are normal, who want our Constitution recognized, our rights recognized, and that they understand their oaths in government. That's what we want here. We want the oaths the government officials, that law enforcement officials take, that military officials, military officers, military enlisted, everyone, they take an oath. That oath needs to matter. We want law and order. We want truth and justice. We want peace and security, but not at the expense of our rights and liberties. That is not asking too fucking much. We've had it for about 240 years. No problem. All of a sudden, it's a fucking problem. All of a sudden, it's an impossibility to have those same things because somebody sneezed and farted. We're seeing the difference between people who want law and order, justice, peace, and those on the political left, these leftist scumbag, socialists who have murdered folks. Governments have murdered over 100 million people. I'm not talking about the wars, folks. I'm talking about murder. Wars were added on top of this 100 million people. Communism, folks, socialism, as well as fascism, murders people. And they're asking for it. They're demanding it. And we, the people, better wake up and realize what it is they're asking for, what it is they're demanding. They're not demanding that we kill them. They're demanding that we, us, be killed, that we be silenced, that we be disarmed, and that we be injected with their Kool-Aid. Sorry. That dog don't hunt in this guy's neighborhood. I hope you feel the same way. Again, I don't encourage or promote violence, dangerous, or any of that stuff. I just know what's coming. I don't like it, but I am prepared for it. Folks, Semper Fi. Make sure you've got your faith in place. Understand what it is you believe and believe it with all your heart. And then act upon it. Right? Intelligence without action has no value. Right? You have to combine your intelligence, your thought, your conclusions with intelligent action to create an outcome that is favorable. Prepping. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Godspeed to you all. And once again, Semper Fi.